Hello and welcome to another online parenting class. Our topic today is how to thrive doing school at home. My name is Jennifer Zilster. I'm the Director of Kids Ministry here, and I titled it this way because I don't want to say how to thrive being a homeschooling mom, because a lot of us have been thrust into this role. We're taking this on not as willing partners, and some of us weren't mentally prepared for this. Our schedules, we don't know where to put this in our schedules. We don't know where to put this in our home. We don't feel like we're equipped to teach third grade math, let alone ninth grade math. And so, yeah, I've invited with me Kendra Davis. Kendra Davis has been homeschooling for a few years now, and I just think watching her family online a little bit, I think that they are thriving in this time of school at home, and I just wanted to bring a little bit of hope to our families and encouragement. And yeah, so thank you for being here with us today, Kendra.
Thank you for inviting me, Jen. Yeah, so we've been homeschooling for, I think, 3 years now. And just to tell you a little bit about my family, my husband, Nathan, and I have been married 20 years. In fact, today is the day that I've been married half my life.
Woo!
And you're like, how did you get married at 13? Well, no, I did not. So, and we have a 17-year-old daughter, Kyler, who just graduated from Peace Wapiti in January. So thankfully, she does not have to fight through this last semester of online school. She's done, she's clear, she's working full-time with plans for college in the fall. We have a 16-year-old son, Campbell, who is in grade 11 this year. We have a 15-year-old son, Graydon, who's in grade 9 this year, and a 13-year-old daughter, Scarlett, who is in grade 8 this year, and I hope I got that right. Because we're homeschoolers, so who knows, right?
That's great. How long have you been homeschooling, and what made you decide to homeschool?
Okay, so we've been homeschooling 3 years now, but we started off with Campbell first. He came home a year, and then the next year Scarlett came home, and then last year Graydon came home. We were led to homeschooling because of a unique need in each of our children for a different option than just regular public school. And you'll notice I said that Kyler graduated from PWA this year, so she's done regular public school. That worked fantastic for her. We loved the schooling for her friends, that all worked great. But we pulled Campbell home because of some things that were going on at school, that it just wasn't a great environment for him. And then every year we've just felt led like, okay, now it would be a good experience for the next child and the next child. And so as we felt like we could offer them something that they weren't able to get in the public school, we've brought them home as well.
For all of our parents who are starting out with this, and some of them are saying, like, I have no idea how to schedule a day with kids in school, and maybe they're doing work. So tell us a little bit about just what a typical day looks like for you.
Right. Okay. So this works well for our family, and I want to stress that whatever I say today is what we've figured out works well for us. So I don't want you guys to be going like, what, you do this and now I need to completely change my life. No, I think what I want to bring out is that look at what is working for you and what is not working for you, and then adjust those. Don't go by just what you hear, another mom that you see that works well for them and feel like you have to do that. So that's my preamble. Nathan and I wake up at about 5:30 in the morning, and we start our day off so that we can have a bit of time before the kids get up. Our kids also are all early risers, and that comes from Del Davis, the genetics, and I completely blame him for that because that is not my ideal, no. But anyways, so they all wake up, and what we find is that then they come down and they have some time in the morning to get ready for their day, have breakfast, sit around. We all end up sitting around. We all end up sitting around even on our phones for a while before the school day starts, but it just kind of breaks us into it. I was thinking about that this morning because I knew this question was coming, and I thought, I think the reason we do it is it gives us some of that family time. Even if we're sitting and looking at our phones, I'm there and I'm available for the kids to just bring up something that they've heard or seen, and it allows for that organic family time. From then, Kyler goes to work. Nathan sometimes goes to work. We're considered an essential business, so he's still going in at sometimes. And the kids start their school day anywhere from, some of their classes start at 7:30 and some of them start at 9 a.m. And then, so how they work, maybe much like you guys are having right now, they have an actual online class where the teacher teaches them, kind of lecture style, gives them their material they need to learn, and then they do their homework after. So anywhere from, they're done their school day from anywhere from 9 a.m. till 1:30 p.m., depending on the day. Yes, there is a child who, did I say 9 p.m.? I meant 9 a.m. Their class is done at 9 a.m. and then they have the rest of the day open.
That's nice.
Well, it is and it isn't, right? Because especially during this time where you have a lot of unscheduled time then to try to fill.
Yeah.
So sometimes I think it would be nice if they had more, but whatever. So they have lots of time to do other things that interest them. And then throughout the day, we try to get their schoolwork done during what would be considered typical school hours. And then we have a lot of family time in the evenings and afternoons, right? Am I right? Are you guys sick of that yet?
One of the things that I have found challenging in my home is just even where to do school, because I'm trying to get my work done. My kids are all kind of doing different things, and some distract each other and so on. And so where do you set up school in your house?
Yeah, so we had an office that we had all 3 kids and my workspace set up in. They worked on laptops and I had my work computer because I work from home, and we kept them in there so that I could monitor, be there for questions while still getting my work done. That worked fairly well, actually, except for sometimes they would distract each other. Actually, just if you think of a teacher in a regular classroom probably having to tell kids to stop talking to each other, that's much like what it was at home. But then when we decided the pandemic hit and we had to move Nathan's office home too, because he is still sometimes going into work but trying to stay home, we decided that office was the best space for Nathan and I to work. So we kicked the kids out and tried to find places throughout the home for them. So now Nathan and I work from the office, which is removed kind of from everybody else. And we've put the kids in like an alcove here or the dining room or wherever. They each do have a dedicated space, which works well for us so that they can have their school stuff out there and not be hauling it around. For me, it's been important, and again, this is what works well for me, to not have them working in their bedrooms. I find that if they're in their bedrooms, I don't know if they're actually getting work done.
Right.
And so here, their laptops are out. I can casually walk behind them and see what they're doing. And it just works well for me to know that they're actually doing the stuff they're supposed to be doing when it is. So that's how we've continued to have it set up. They have it in some public space in the house.
What would you say to our moms and dads who have been at it for now, I don't know how many weeks, a few weeks, and like they're just pulling their hair out? This is really, really challenging to try and get their kids to do school at home. What would you say to those parents?
So I would say that I've been there with you. Even though we chose to do homeschooling, you never know what you're in for. You never quite know, right? You think that you're doing what is right, but it's a shock to your system. So I would say that when I started with just one child at home, I would have thrown in the towel by about 4 or 5 weeks had I not had Nathan's support and knew I had to do this. You guys are in a position where you have to do this, right? You don't have an option to send them back. So I found it difficult at about the 4 or 5 week mark where I had set up some systems and it was obvious they weren't working, or maybe they were working and I was just exhausted. But what I reminded myself is I've gone from, being a stay-at-home mom with kids at home. I've been a stay-at-home mom with kids all in school. I've been a working mom with kids all in school. And now I'm a work-from-home mom with kids at home. And every transition takes me about 6 weeks to get comfortable in before I feel like I can physically handle the demands of that schedule, before I can mentally wrap my head around each part of what I'm supposed to be doing. And the 6-week mark is kind of where I feel like, okay, I'm comfortable now. It might not be perfect because it never is, but I would just say press on. And then you're also at a good point right now where you should know which things are working and which things are not working. And I would say go ahead and throw those things that aren't working out. I mean, still do what the teacher wants you to do, but the processes that you've put in place that are just, you feel like you're arguing with your kids constantly about them, rethink it, rethink it. I also have another little theory that I always use, which maybe would be better in a different question, but I'll say it now. Like, for those of you who are struggling to wrap your head around being a mom, being a teacher, being a wife, being a worker, being a volunteer, whatever else you're doing, I always think, I can never handle all of those perfectly. And as long as I'm not being horrible at the same one for too many weeks in a row, I'll catch up. So like sometimes my husband, he's like, I kind of miss you. I'm like, yeah, your week is next week. Like, I'll be a good wife next week. This week, I'm sorry, it's just not your week.
That's great. I really appreciate you saying kind of reevaluate, because even in my own home, we had a situation where, I like structure, I like schedules. And, I was saying to one of my kids, okay, at 9 o'clock, you're going to do this, and 10 o'clock, you're going to do this, and 11 o'clock, you're going to do this, and this is how your day is going to look. And they were not cooperative at all. Like, it was not working. And we were just like in this constant battle. And finally I said, okay, let's just sit down. Clearly my schedule I've given you isn't working for you. Can we come up with something together so that it works for you and it works for me? And so it took a little bit of compromise on both of our ends, but it was really good to reevaluate because we're doing so much better. But kind of in saying that as well, I felt like before the kids came home from school, I got to be a bit more of the fun mom.
Yeah.
Like, they were doing school at school, that was their work time, and then they come home, we'd do supper together, we'd have evenings together. I got to be fun mom. And now suddenly I feel like I've been thrown into this, like, I'm nagging you to do schoolwork, and so I'm wearing the teacher hat, I'm wearing the mom hat, I'm wearing the work at home hat. How do you carry all of that?
That is so true. And I was just, as you were saying that, I was thinking back, it's almost like having toddlers again, where you have to discipline and then show love, right? You have to balance that whole thing again. And you're learning a new way to parent now. So not only is it difficult for the kids to get used to doing this, it's hard on us as we figure out that balance and what this new relationship looks like. So that's been, I know how important it is because I've messed up on this. So when we brought Campbell home at first, Campbell can do very well at school when he chooses to, and I knew that. And so when he would get marks that were lower than 95, I would be like, well, so what do you think went wrong there? Do you think that if we just studied a little more, and I'd make sure to use the pronoun we so that I would support him. Do you think if we just did this a bit more? To the point where I became the nagger and the condemner of him. So I was no longer the safe mom. I was now the person who was constantly checking up on him and constantly getting him in trouble, is what he felt like, for not achieving what I had hoped he would, what I hoped he would. So I did that basically the whole first year, and I almost feel like I ruined him. And he's heard me say this and he laughs about it, but I've had to take a huge step back. So now I look at it as he's responsible for it, and that is kind of an age thing, because you have children at all different age levels who are at different points in how capable they are of handling it. But I had to say, okay, I can only be the teacher during teacher times, or only to a certain extent, and try to rein it in to those parameters that I've set for myself, which I can't tell you what they're going to be individually for you. I don't know. But when I felt something going wrong, when I felt the tension build between us, I knew that there was something wrong and I had to reevaluate. Yeah, so I feel like you can have a bad day, you can have a bad week, but if it keeps going like that, you just need to reevaluate and see where you are able to release some tension. I like what you said about talking with your kid about figuring out what works for them, because that's what we do a lot of. We just say, you know, you and I both know this isn't working. We're fighting about this way too much. What can we do? What is your goal for this? Can we get on the same page? Can we make it so that both of us are working for the same thing? And they might have ideas that you're not perfectly happy with, but we've even been like, okay, let's try that. Let's try that for a few weeks. And if your way sucks and doesn't work, let's try my way again, or let's try a different thing. So that whole being flexible and being willing to change it up is just, that's important. And I think it works even for young kids. Like, I'm obviously talking from experience at junior high and senior hires, but I think it works for an 8-year-old where you say, you know, these are the things that we know we need to do. What would work for you to do that?
And even just giving them a little bit of control in what their day looks like, you know. Not entirely, obviously, if they're 8 years old, because it's, you know, they may throw school right out the window, but giving them a little bit of power in how to make this work for them.
I agree.
I found it really helpful. You and I had spoken about this earlier about leaving school at school, and then also like, okay, now I'm wearing my mom hat where I'm not the teacher right now. Because last night we were having dinner and I wanted to say to my son, like, what did you get done at school today? And I thought, no, this is family dinner time. We do not need to talk about school right now. We can leave that earlier in the day. I can address it during your school hours tomorrow. I don't have to talk about that right now.
Yeah.
Speak to the parent who is trying to work from home, because I think that is a bit of a challenge for a lot of people. Is now they're trying to get what they regularly did in a work week without any kids around, trying to get it done with kids around. And you did say you were working from home. So can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've been working from home since we started homeschooling. So it's not brand new to me, but because of this, of the pandemic going around, my work has increased with our business. So that's changed. And not only that, like I feel like the workload for stuff like cooking every single night, you know, we used to eat out once a week at least. And so that all has changed. That's added workload. So for me, it's meant making sure that I structure my day so that I can work when the kids are in their class. Basically, I'm talking about working when they're distracted. So whether that's in their school, whether, for us personally, we've released a lot of our limits that we used to place on screen time. Like I used to try to monitor that fairly closely, tightly with the kids, and
I
now
have to say I'm so relieved to hear that.
now I'm like, it's a free for all. I'm like, you're watching something educational, right? Just tell me yes so that I can have peace of mind. But yeah, it's and now that the weather's nicer, it's a bit easier to say, oh, just go outside for a bit. But no, like I'll work when they're distracted.
Okay.
And I'll steal those moments, and I'll tell them to go ahead and go watch a movie, or we have to be gentle with ourselves. We can't be perfect at everything. Oh my word. Don't kill yourself trying to do that. And I don't know, like I've honestly asked them to find educational YouTube videos just so that I feel a little bit better about it. But I let them cook and then I clean up the mess later. You know, it's do what works. So I guess I don't have great advice except for that we're all kind of struggling with this. And if you found a solution that works but you don't feel like it's ideal, who cares? Just use it anyways.
Yeah, I have to say, when I started out working from home as well, I was like, well, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 9 to 3 are my work days, and that's when I'm going to work. And we just had to throw that out of the window. I'm going to do a few hours here, and I'm going to do a few hours here, and a few hours here, and it's just kind of all over the place. But this is just what works for right now,
Yep.
and so being okay to be flexible, I think, is really, really good advice. The topic of this video is how to thrive being at home, and so. What are some of the things, like I've watched your Instagram and Facebook Live videos, what are some of the things your family has been doing just to have fun in this time?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this because I feel like I took credit for some of those things, and honestly, a lot of those have been my kids who are like, hey, let's have a dress formal night, so we did that. I mean, I think we had spaghetti. We did not make the dinner match the outfits. And we had a dress as the decades that Dad and I grew up in night. And there was a lot of 90s flannel going on, I think. So that was easy for us because it was kind of the evening after everything was done, we could do that. So that was fun. I learned how to do a TikTok. Is that the right? I don't know. I learned to dance, and I have a TikTok account. Woo! You can find me. I have one thing posted. So those are just the fun things that we've done, and most of them, it's been the kids being like, hey, let's do this. I feel like we have such a unique opportunity right now. Our children, we as families have become so busy, and we're having a forced stoppage of that. And yes, that's hard, but our children are desperate for the connections that they used to have. And who's available to fill that? It's us.
Yeah.
And I feel
That's
like
great.
we can see this as such a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
Our kids want friendships, and here we are.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can use this opportunity to transition that from being a parent to also having a friendship. And that just takes time. And that's what we have right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I've tried to, we have table games out now, and I hate table games. So every evening I'm playing Dutch Blitz and stuff like that, and I am losing a lot to Scarlett. But yeah, it's just, what do they want to do, and why don't I do it? Why don't I?
Great. Yeah, that's great. So good. I just wanted to mention that as I was preparing for this, I did speak to one of the teachers who is putting out content right now for the kids. And, they're learning how to do this for families too. And one of the things that she really said was, the teachers are still there. They want to help. If something isn't working for you, get your teachers involved. Tell them it's not working because they're learning and they want to change things up if it's not working for families. But one of the things she said that was really impactful to me is just sometimes we have off days. Mm-hmm. And sometimes a day doesn't work really well, and you're butting heads all day. And she said sometimes we just need a reset. And she talked about, I thought this was really neat, she talked about like doing a jigsaw puzzle and how like sometimes you're doing your puzzle, and personally I don't like puzzles so much, so this is me all the time when doing a puzzle. But she says sometimes you're doing a puzzle and you're like, for half an hour I haven't got a single piece in, and it's so annoying, I'm just going to throw this puzzle in the box. But she says, and then you happen to leave it out for the next day, and suddenly you're popping in the pieces like crazy because you needed to change your perspective or look at it differently. Does that happen in your world? Like, do you ever have reset days?
Yeah, and I would say I allow a bad day every once in a while without overthinking everything, because we all have bad days, right? And I try not to overthink that too much. But when they start to stack up, I feel like that's when I start to realize something is off, that tension, that fighting, whatever, and I start to look at it, and I've had to reevaluate. Like for us, because we're homeschooling, I've dropped classes for the kids. I've just been like, you know what, this isn't working. We need to find a different way to fill that void. Yeah. Which is maybe why one child is done in classes at 9 a.m. But those processes, like I feel like we can set up such great processes and have such great ideas about how it's going to work. And when it doesn't, it's sometimes really hard to let those go, because on paper, they're absolutely great ideas. And maybe they are. Maybe you heard about it from somebody else and it's working so great for them. And it's okay if it's not for you. It's okay. Like last year, Scarlett, she didn't even take science at all. And we caught her up this year. So I feel like we can put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be perfect in every area. But kids are so resilient, and especially the younger they are in their education years. I mean, speak with your teachers and use them as resources, definitely. But if something isn't working great, don't stress too much about it. These teachers are expecting, like even before this all happened, teachers expect in September to get kids from all different abilities into their grade. And they are taught to catch them up and to help them get to where their own personal level should be. So relinquish the desire to have the perfect, most brightest child. And I think that's something that I've struggled with, is I wanted, as a homeschooling mom, to turn out these kids who were brilliant, you know, who were so well educated and thoughtful and could visit with adults and children and alike, you know, like, and that was a lot of pride coming from me.
Right.
That was a lot of me wanting to be, you know, they will call her blessed. And so I've tried to relinquish that, because each child will reach their own personal best at a different time, at a different speed. It will look different. And all of it comes from the child and whatever family situation that you have. And don't beat yourself up if you feel like you're not giving them the perfect family situation, because God put that kid in your family for that family situation. Like, there's a purpose in this. So I just think that pressure needs to be eased. You just need to let that go.
Yeah.
You're not going to be perfect.
Yeah, that's great. I know for me, a big part of, I guess, doing well, but I wouldn't say I've done well, but just that helps me in my day is how I start my day. And you talked about getting up at 5:30 in the morning. So what does the start of your day look like?
Yeah, so we are early risers, and sometimes I've even gotten up a little earlier than that. And it used to be to work out. But that is something that I have pressed pause on right now. Nathan and I have decided that we're doing devotions together in the mornings. So we wake up to have that time together before the kids are really running the house, because that's what it feels like. And that has brought, first of all, it's time with Nathan and I to get to chat through a few things, but it's also helped prep our day for our home to be filled with peace and to get ourselves in the right mindset. This isn't something that I feel completely at peace with, though, which is, I should, because devotions is great. But I still feel like I've pressed pause on working out, which also gets me in a healthy mental state, right? Yeah. So I do feel like we all go through periods of transition, and what I'm being asked to do right now is to give up that dedicated time for myself to do devotions and prep the day for my family. So this is the wall that I feel like I have to climb. Like, I'm not there. I haven't figured it out. I still get to do fun things in my day that I like to do, but I'm not dedicating that time for me that I also like. So I would just say to you guys, like, we're all kind of figuring out where this lies, what our balance should be. I don't have it figured out. I hope to wrap around as the days are getting warmer now to being able to get out for a run, but I'm not right now. Yeah. So
I know we kind of are in a survival mode in some ways, you know, this is all new for everybody. For myself as well, it really, my day goes so much better if I have time in the Word in the morning, and getting up before my kids so that it's quiet when I have that time in the Word. And I would just encourage all of our families and parents out there that you need to take care of yourself if you want to take care of your family well. And so do the things that refresh you and fill you up, take some time for yourself as well. I'm always reminded of the story of the Israelites as they're wandering around in the desert, and it was raining manna on the ground, this bread that they had to go out every day and gather enough bread for the day. They couldn't go out and gather enough bread for the week. They had to do this every day, so they had enough for the day. And I've often thought of that as, the New Testament talks about Jesus being the bread of life, and how every day I need to start my day with a little bit of Jesus bread to feed my soul in order to get through the day. And so I would just encourage, parents to find a place in your schedule where you can have that Jesus time in your day to fill you up, and the other things as well, the exercise and, reading a book and, taking a bath or whatever it is that you do that, just feeds yourself as well. So I just want to tell all your parents, I pray that this has been hopeful and encouraging to you, and just want you to know that we are praying for you. Thank you so much for being with us today, Kendra.
You're welcome, Jen.